Iran isn't collapsing in flames. There are no crumbling skyscrapers or sudden regime meltdowns, and no single moment signaling an end. Instead, Iran is quietly fading away, gradually, subtly, and painfully. This story isn't about a sudden disaster, but a slow decay, marked by shrinking rivers, empty wallets, broken trust, exhausted people, and a future that feels smaller each year. Iran isn't dying loudly. It's breaking apart in pieces, economically, environmentally, socially, and psychologically, all feeding into each other. On the surface, Iran still functions. Cities are bustling, shops are open, roads are busy, schools and universities still operate. Elections happen, government offices are present, life goes on. But beneath this normalcy lies a harsher truth. The system no longer advances forward. It just aims to survive. People aren't asking how to improve their lives anymore. They're focused on protecting what little they still have. Iran's economy hasn't collapsed suddenly. It's been gradually slipping for years. The national currency weakens, briefly stabilizes, then weakens again, never truly recovering. Inflation no longer makes headline news. It's become a routine part of life. Prices no longer surprise us. They drain us. Food portions get smaller, cheaper in quality, and more expensive, turning from everyday staples into occasional luxuries. Rent takes up more of the paycheck each year. Medicine appears one month and disappears the next. Salaries exist, but they chase rising prices and can't keep up. This ongoing erosion affects more than just buying power. It destroys the ability to plan ahead. When people can't predict next month's costs, they stop dreaming about the years to come. Marriages are delayed, children's futures are postponed, education becomes a gamble, and entrepreneurship feels risky rather than hopeful. An economy that can't support long-term planning feels like it has no future. Since Iran's first sanctions by the U.S. in 1979, restrictions have expanded mostly because of the Iranian Revolution, hostility towards the U.S., support for militant groups, nuclear concerns, and human rights issues. These sanctions cut off many economic opportunities. Meanwhile, the world moves forward, advancing technology, evolving supply chains, increasing productivity, and growing digital economies. Iran remains partly connected but structurally isolated, shut out of full participation, investment, and innovation. That isolation raises costs, reduces efficiency, and deepens stagnation. Over time, catching up becomes impossible. The decline is no longer relative. It's absolute. U.S. sanctions hurt Iran. There's no denying that. They limited oil revenue, cut off banking access, and isolated its economy from global systems. But sanctions alone aren't the whole story. Iran has the third largest oil reserves in the world. Even under U.S. sanctions, it could have found ways to persevere. So why didn't it? The answer lies in mismanagement, corruption, political interference, and a lack of accountability. Even when money entered the system, it didn't fix anything. Oil revenues weren't used to modernize infrastructure like Saudi Arabia or the UAE. Public funds didn't strengthen social safety nets. Economic pain didn't lead to reforms. Instead, crises became normalized. And that's a dangerous trap. And then there's Iran's water crisis, arguably even more urgent than the economic turmoil. The country's water resources are drying up fast, and it's hitting a breaking point. Iran's water crisis is among the worst worldwide given its climate and population. Rivers and lakes are vanishing. Lake Urmia has lost most of its water. Salt storms now damage nearby farms and threaten health. Major rivers like Zayandeh Rud run dry regularly. Wetlands, which once supported agriculture and wildlife, have collapsed. Groundwater levels are critically low. Wells are overused across the country. Land subsidence is widespread and often irreversible, as aquifers collapse beyond human ability to refill. This water crisis threatens homes, roads, pipelines, and farms. Farming, and which consumes about 90% of Iran's water, is becoming unsustainable. Water-heavy crops are grown in arid areas. Farmers lose harvests, migrate, and protest. Food security now depends directly on how well water is managed. Iran has built hundreds of dams, many without proper environmental assessments. Rivers have been blocked, downstream regions dried up, and ecosystems paid the price while contractors benefited. Iran is a young, educated, and capable nation. That should have been its greatest asset. Instead, it has become its greatest burden. Graduates leave universities only to face unemployment or underemployment. Engineers drive taxis, scientists seek visas abroad, doctors look elsewhere to practice, and artists either censor themselves or leave entirely. This isn't just economic migration. It's a form of psychological exile. Many young people don't leave because they hate Iran. They leave because they love it but see no place for themselves within it. With each departure, the country loses skills, energy, creativity, and faith. Over time, this hollowing out becomes irreversible. A country can rebuild factories, but it struggles to rebuild trust. Iranians protest regularly about food, water, wages, dignity, and justice. Each wave of protests is suppressed, and the period of calm that follows is always temporary. Paradoxically, this means protests don't succeed politically, but do succeed psychologically. They reveal that anger still exists, that patience has limits, and that the system relies on force rather than consent. Repeated suppression over time erodes legitimacy, not restores stability. One of the most dangerous moments in a nation's decline is when people stop demanding improvement and start demanding only survival. In Iran, hopes have shrunk. People no longer ask, will things get better? Instead, they wonder, will things get worse quickly or slowly? This shift signifies a mental death of optimism. When decline becomes the norm, resistance weakens, not because people accept it, but because they are exhausted. Fatigue becomes a stabilizer of decay. Iran isn't doomed by geography or history, it's weakened by the choices made. The tragedy of slow decline is that everyone sees it happening, yet no one feels strong.